Hey everybody. So I thought I would show you my little experiment here. So the resin, I'm glad I did a test because the resin is not sticking the way I want it to on the paintings. So I did this painting a couple days ago. Wasn't super thrilled with how it turned out, so I thought it would make a good test. So when I turn it, you can see all the puddles and the divots. See right there, you can see it really well, of the resin where it's not adhering all the way to the canvas. Because even if I apply it slightly unevenly, the resin is self-leveling. Once you heat it up and apply heat to it, it self-levels. So even if you don't apply it exactly evenly, it evens itself out. But you can see that it clearly did not. So the culprit is this stuff here. So the coconut milk is really cool and it does some great things. So by adding the coconut milk into the paint, I get all of these cool effects. So you see all of these cells and all of these really cool shapes and patterns. That's what the coconut milk does. So it gives really cool effects and makes things look really awesome. But the downside is then the resin won't stick. So, as much as I love him, I am going to sacrifice Jake here because if this does not work the way I want it to, this will be the easiest one for me to replicate. And plus, he's got this little spot on his nose and it just annoys me where the paint kind of seeped in. So, if I have to redo Jake, I will redo Jake because he, like I said, he will be the easiest one to replicate with the colors. Obviously, the pattern's not going to be the same, but he will be the easiest one to redo. So I am going to use Jake, and I am going to use this sample tile that I made last night. So I'm actually going to use two tiles. This tile is this old paint right here. That's been mixed up for a month, two maybe. Just a gold, a dark blue, a light blue, and that sparkly purple, which that sparkly purple looks really freaking cool. It's right there. So I really like the way this looked, and so I'm going to use that one, and I am going to use one of these because of this color combination. This is my least favorite. I'm sure someone else loves it, and if you do, that is great, but it's my least favorite. So I have no problem kind of sacrificing these for the greater good. So these, as you can see by the cells and by the shape, these have the silicone oil in them. This one does not. This has the silicone oil in Jake, but not on this. I painted over it with this blue. So my thought process is I'm going to take the Mod Podge and this lovely little, I probably should dump this into a cup. I'll just dump it into the lid. I'm going to take the Mod Podge and put a coat of Mod Podge on them. Let that dry. And hopefully that will be enough of a sealant that it will seal that top layer. Now the Mod Podge dries clear. We've used this before on the tiles that we've made at the barn, the ones with the pictures on. So the ones with the pictures, these are the exact same tiles too. You literally just get a picture, and paper actually works better than picture paper. You just put a thin layer on, and it doesn't take too long to dry. And it will dry clear, so I'm not too worried about the lines or anything. So I'm going to put a thin layer of the Mod Podge on the tiles, one with silicone and one without silicone, to test and see how they respond to the Mod Podge, and then in turn hopefully let me coat the silicone. And if you can't see it, so this is the mess it made on the table, but isn't that purple so pretty? I really like that purple. I need to use it more. Okay, so thin coat of Mod Podge on each coaster. Those will probably take maybe an hour or two to dry. So now I have to coat Jake. So same process, just thin layers across the top. And I'm curious, I don't know if the silicone will affect the Mod Podge. I don't know if the Mod Podge will stick to the silicone in the paint. So that is why we are doing this test. So it doesn't have to be super thick, just a thin coat. I'll go back and do the sides when I'm done. Just want to get this on the top right now. Poor Jakey, he has got to be my test. But I really like his. I just used, there's like 3 different shades of blue and a white in there. That's why I picked the blue for Jake, because he's just all boy. So we're just gonna even that out. And like, I don't want it super thick. I just want like a thin coat, like that protective layer on there. So it's not like I need a lot of this. Just do the edges here. I need that. Basically, I'm just looking for some kind of barrier to the silicone that will let the resin adhere to it. Now the resin, this should be dry, I don't know, hour, 2 at the most. I'll see how thick it is once it's dry, and I might go back and do a second layer. We'll see, depends on how thick it is. Sorry, I'm trying to hold the phone with one hand and watch what I'm doing with the other hand. So if you get all weird angles, I apologize. So I might do a second layer, I don't know. But I also don't want to put too many layers. I don't want to put 2 layers of Mod Podge on and then go back and do a layer of resin, because I don't want it to be too thick. So I will let this dry and see how it looks. Once he's all dry, and see, because I mean, look, that one you can hardly even see the Mod Podge on there anymore. It's almost dry. That one too, it's already fading. So we'll let these dry. It's harder to see with the Mod Podge if it's adhering to, like you can clearly still see the lines in the blue part. It's harder to see the lines in the painted part, the design part. So we'll let this sit and dry for a couple hours and see how it goes. We'll see. Hopefully it works and I don't have to sacrifice Jake and he makes it through. So we'll see. I'll let you guys know how it turns out.